Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have an unbelievable story to dive into, one that feels straight out of a Hollywood movie, but is very real. The United States Navy SEALs reportedly carried out a daring operation near the border, storming what officials are calling a $5 billion cartel fortress. This raid shocked everyone, not just for the scale of the target, but for what was discovered inside. The details are dramatic, the stakes were high, and what happened after the SEALs made entry took the entire operation in a direction no one expected. The fortress had been under surveillance for months, according to reports. Intelligence agencies worked around the clock tracking cartel shipments, intercepting encrypted messages, and identifying who was coming and going from the compound. This wasn't just another cartel safe house, this was a massive operational hub, fortified like a military base, with its own security network, cameras, and heavily armed guards. The compound was built with reinforced concrete, underground bunkers, and even anti-aircraft weapons on its perimeter. When the green light came for the raid, the SEAL teams moved in quickly. Helicopters approached under the cover of darkness, while ground teams closed off escape routes. Drones circled overhead to provide real-time intelligence. The approach had to be fast, quiet, and precise. Inside the compound, cartel members were caught off guard. Initial reports suggest that the first minutes were a tense firefight, but the SEALs' training gave them the edge. They breached the outer walls with explosives and cleared room after room, neutralizing resistance and securing hostages who were being kept inside. What they found next stunned everyone. The fortress wasn't just storing drugs. It contained millions in cash, high-tech weaponry, and sensitive documents linking cartel leaders to corrupt officials and international arms suppliers. There were armored vehicles parked underground, secret tunnels leading across the border, and even a private airstrip that had been hidden under camouflage netting. This was not just a cartel hide. It was a headquarters for operations spanning multiple countries. As the raid continued, the SEALs located a central control room with advanced communication systems, encrypted servers, and surveillance feeds monitoring not only cartel operations, but also law enforcement movements. This discovery suggested that the cartel had inside information about police and military activities, which might explain how they stayed one step ahead for so long. Taking control of that room was a turning point in the operation. Once the systems were shut down, the compound went dark and resistance crumbled. However, the real twist came after the raid was over. Intelligence gathered from the servers revealed plans for an upcoming attack that would have destabilized entire regions and potentially sparked a wave of violence across the border. Officials immediately scrambled to act on this new information, coordinating with agencies across the country to intercept shipments and arrest high-ranking members before they could flee. The raid ended up preventing what could have been one of the most violent escalations in years. Witnesses described the aftermath as chaotic but controlled. Trucks were loaded with seized weapons, gold, cash, and narcotics. Special agents worked through the night cataloging evidence, while military engineers searched for hidden compartments and booby traps. Some areas were so dangerous that bomb squads had to be brought in to safely dismantle traps left behind by the cartel. Back in Washington, the operation was hailed as one of the most successful joint missions in recent memory. Officials praised the SEAL teams for their bravery and precision, but they also acknowledged that the fight was far from over. Cartel operations are resilient, and taking out one stronghold often leads to power struggles and retaliation attempts. Security was increased at key checkpoints along the border as a precaution. For many, the most shocking part of this story is how much money and infrastructure a single cartel group can control. The $5 billion fortress was essentially a small city with its own power grid, water supply, and fortified walls. Experts say that dismantling something on this scale is a major blow, but also a sign of how deeply entrenched these groups are. As more details emerged, the public learned that several high-value targets had been captured alive during the raid. This opened the door to interrogations and intelligence gathering that could lead to even bigger operations in the future. Some of these individuals were believed to have direct connections to international arms dealers and corrupt officials across multiple countries, but the story doesn't end there. In the days following the raid, retaliation threats began to circulate online. Cartel loyalists posted cryptic messages on social media warning of revenge attacks. Security analysts warned that while the fortress was destroyed, the organization's leadership still had loyal networks capable of striking back. This raised concerns for both border towns and U.S. personnel involved in the mission. Despite these risks, the operation sent a powerful message. It demonstrated that no cartel compound, no matter how fortified, is beyond the reach of a coordinated military strike. It also showed the importance of intelligence sharing between agencies, as this mission reportedly involved cooperation between the DEA, CIA, and military special operations units. Families of those rescued from the fortress expressed relief and gratitude. Some of the hostages had been missing for months, and their return was a rare moment of joy in an otherwise grim story. Media outlets reported emotional reunions as loved ones were brought back to safety under heavy security. Military analysts believe this operation will become a case study for future missions. The use of drones, cyber warfare, and precision ground assaults all played a role in the success. It was not just a show of force, but a demonstration of how modern warfare is evolving to counter organized crime networks. As the investigation continues, authorities are expected to release more information about the financial networks uncovered in the raid. Tracing the flow of money could expose more cartel assets and potentially freeze billions in illicit funds. The raid also reignited debates about border security, international cooperation, and the root causes of cartel power. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have weighed in, some calling for tougher measures while others argue for addressing the demand side of the drug trade. For now, the SEALs have returned to base, the fortress is in ruins, and the evidence is being analyzed. The mission was a success, but the war against organized crime is far from over. Each victory leads to new challenges, and each raid exposes just how vast and dangerous these networks really are. This story is a reminder of the courage and skill of the men and women who carry out these missions. They put their lives on the line to protect others, often in total secrecy, and the results can change the course of events far beyond the battlefield. And that is the incredible story of how U.S. Navy SEALs stormed a $5 billion cartel fortress and uncovered a network of crime, corruption, and conspiracy. What happens next will depend on how quickly authorities can act on the intelligence they seized and whether the cartel strikes back.